Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Toonday here. So, for the past few weeks, I've been given the opportunity to play the full game of Monark, which was provided to me as a review code by NIS America. Thank you so much for them for giving me that opportunity. Now, unfortunately, with this here, I wasn't able to completely finish the game. I've only played roughly about 20 hours of it, so with that, I'm just going to give you my first impressions on what I think of the game. Now, as some of you may know, when the marketing for Monarch started, it was heavily marketed that developers who worked on the Persona series were involved with it. But I've noticed that there's a big common misconception that because they worked on it, a lot of people are expecting this game to be very similar to Persona. With this, I just want to let you guys know that this game isn't really similar to Persona at all. You're not going to find that it's going to be your JRPG hybrid life sim simulator that the Persona series is known for. This game has more of its own identity when it comes to its own gameplay style and everything. So now to go over the story of the game. So in the game, you play as a silent protagonist who you get to name yourself, and who is a student at the high school called Shin Mikado Academy. At the start of the game, you wake up in a part of the school with no memories of who you are or your past. When you wake up, you're met upon by two students, one of them who claims to be your younger sister, and another student who is the student council president. Along with them is also the school nurse. They let you know that you've been missing for the past few days and that your younger sister has been trying to look for you since then. While you guys are trying to escape from the misty area of the school, you're quickly attacked by monsters. Before these monsters can finish you off, a strange being known as a demon comes to your aid and offers to save you. By doing this, the demon says that he's what is called a Monarch and has the ability to give you powers if you form a pact with him. So through this, you decide to form a pact with the demon and gain powers of what is called a pact bearer. So with your newfound powers, you're able to defeat the demons and escape the misty part of the school. After you escape the mist, you're quickly given a quick synopsis about what's currently going on at the school. So what has been going on for the past few days is that the school has been having the mist appear in random parts of it, and if people stay in the mist for too long, they start to go crazy. Also, along with that, the school also is encased in a barrier that has trapped everyone inside. Also, along with this, you learn that the mist is due to other pact bearers in the school overusing their powers. With their powers, they're able to gain influence over other students in the school, sometimes causing them to do things under their bidding. So from here on out, your mission becomes to stop the other pact bearers along with their monarchs, and see if you can find other students to help you in the mission to remove the mist and remove the barrier from the school. So I have to say that so far, when it comes to the story, I haven't really found it too interesting so far. Right now, when it comes to everything, it seems that it is very, typical paint by numbers type of JRPG. Even the characters as well seem to follow a very, very basic archetype that you've seen in many other games before. So, for example, you have your typical, emotionless, robotic type character that struggles to understand social cues and interact with people. You have like your very uptight, like a leader figure in the school that, struggles to, have fun and is serious all the time. Then you also have, your typical, bad boy kind of anti-hero that likes to do things his own way. Now, with that it isn't necessarily a bad thing that the characters are like this. The main issue that I have is mainly the way it's executed. Like, the way it's executed, I haven't really been able to, connect with the characters in a way that I find that, I'd want to, stick around and learn more about them. Right now, I find them kind of bland, to be honest. Okay, so now to move on to the visuals. So I'm sure, as you guys can see, the visuals in the game aren't the greatest, which, you know, isn't necessarily a bad thing or a terrible thing, right? Like I'm not really one to, you know, look for a game that has, you know, the best visuals, or trying to, you know, essentially use up like everything, all the resources it can to make the best looking game ever. No, but you know, the thing is with the game is that, you know, I feel like they could have done a lot better job in portraying the look of the actual models compared to, you know, their actual like 2D illustrations that you guys can see on the screen on the side when you're talking to them. I find that the 2D illustrations have a much better style to the characters than the actual 3D models. Also, as well, I found that the environments are very, very bland and boring because, you know, since this game takes place entirely in a school, you're essentially going to be going through, you know, your basic classroom setting. So it's going to be like a lot of hallways, a lot of, you know, typical Japanese classrooms with seats everywhere and desks, and then like, you know, a chalkboard up front with things written on it. Like, it doesn't really have any variety. Like, even the areas where you go to have battles, they all look the same. Like, it doesn't really have anything different or unique to them that makes you really, you know, want to, you know, stick around and explore and look at things. It's kind of just, you know, gets the job done of trying to get you to point A to point B. It's not a very interesting looking place, unfortunately, Shin Mikado Academy. So now to go over the gameplay. So with the gameplay, the main way that the game is plays out is in a more tactical turn-based style. So at the start of each battle, essentially what happens is that you get to pick which units you want to have go out in battle. So besides your human characters that you interact with in the story, you also have these other skeleton looking like monsters that fight alongside you, and through it you get to pick which units you want to go into battle with you. And then from there it kind of, you know, goes into more of a typical, you know, kind of tactical based style of game. So in it, through every action you have the option of moving through the space that you're in the game, and then after you do that you have your choice of doing an ability. So, you know, it's your pretty much your typical, you know, RPG ability. So you have the choice of doing an attack, buffing or debuffing, healing, maybe, you know, like increasing your special meter, things like that. The main problem that I find where this battle system lies is in the system that's called the Madness and Resolve system. Now, I'm sure that some of you guys have noticed through the gameplay that while exploring the school, you have what's called a Madness meter that's shown at the bottom right portion of the screen. Now, when you're exploring the mist areas in the school, if the Madness meter reaches 100%, essentially kicks you back to the nurse's office, where you have to go back to the area that you're in again to kind of explore it. Now, I find that the Madness meter is honestly kind of pointless because since you're put back into the nurse's office, what will happen is that the nurse will essentially heal you and all of your party members, and then he'll give you 5 sets of pills that will reduce the madness gauge if it goes up by a certain percentage. So essentially with that, it just becomes more of a minor annoyance if you do get 100%, because essentially what happens is that you just speak to the nurse, heals you, gives you your pills, you fast travel back to where you were, and then you're on your way. So it doesn't really add anything to it. And then even in battles as well, if the mass meter reaches 100% in that, what will happen is that your characters will essentially will change forms to where they're a little bit more reddish and sadistic. And the game says that they do get a damage buff, but the damage buff doesn't really have that much of a benefit, because once your characters hit the full madness meter, they essentially will attack anybody, including their own party members. So with that, you're essentially, you have the damage increase, but with that, there is a chance that they'll essentially hurt your own party members, which doesn't really give you much of a benefit in battle. Now, the meter that gives you more of a benefit is the resolve meter. So the way that you increase that is either by doing regular attacks or using the resolve ability. Now, once the awaken/resolve meter is fully at 100%, you get put into what's called an awakened state. And in that awakened state, you do also get some damage buffs with that as well. And you also get the ability of using a special move if you have unlocked it. Now, another thing that I want to add with this as well is how the leveling system works. So with the leveling system, how it works that at the end of each battle, you're essentially given a currency called spirit. So with that spirit, you can essentially use it for things such as getting new abilities for all of your party members, or you can also use it for buying healing items. Now, the main downside to this is that if you're looking to, let's say, just beeline the main story in this game, the game doesn't really give you the option to do so. Because by doing the main story battles, you're not given enough spirits to level up your characters to the point to where they can tackle the story battles as they go along. Essentially, what you need to do in order to, make sure that you have a decent amount of healing items are healed and are at a decent level, well, is that you need to do a lot of grinding by repeating battles over and over again. So with that, the game can become quite a bit of a slog through that, which is another thing that I didn't like. So, as some of you may have gathered with everything that I've said here, you can probably see that, when it comes to the game Monark, as it stands, and at what it's releasing at, which is, a full price AAA release, this isn't something that I would necessarily recommend you run out and get right away. I'd say right now, your best bet is to probably, just maybe skip it. Or, if you are interested in the game, there is also a demo out right now that you can try that lets you play the first 2 hours. And if you do like the first 2 hours of that, then there may be a chance that it might be something that will tickle your fancy in a way, but as it stands right now, isn't really something that I'd recommend. Then also one thing that I forgot to mention as well is the performance of the game, because I did play it on PC. So in terms of the PC performance, it is fairly good. Unfortunately, the game is locked to just 60 FPS, so anybody who has a 144 Hz monitor like myself can't really go above that. But 60 FPS is more than fine. When it comes to running the game, it doesn't have the most extensive options for settings, but most of you should be able to hit the 60 FPS threshold, no problem. If you guys want to know what I'm running, it is also in the description down below. And then also as well, just one other thing to add, I guess another benefit that the game has is the music. So when you are essentially facing the other pack bearers in the game, you do get a special, fully lyrics and done kind of like a J-pop song. And the few that I've heard so far are really, really good songs as well. That's also the songs I'm playing throughout the video. So that is one other benefit that I'd like to add. But yeah, overall, I'd say that when it comes to Monarch right now, your best bet is probably to either hold off, maybe wait for a sale, or just maybe skip it altogether, because as it stands right now, from the 20 hours I played, I'd say that's a fairly average game. Like it's not something that's going to set the world on fire, unfortunately. Which to myself was a big disappointment, because I was kind of looking forward to playing the game from all the marketing and everything that I saw about it, but unfortunately it didn't really do it for me here. So with that being said, this brings me up to the end of the video. So thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching. And again, thank you so much to NIS America for allowing me to check out the full game and see everything about it. And yeah, so if you guys do want to, you know, if you guys did like the video and everything, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe if you want to. And then if you guys, you know, have any more questions about Monark or anything that I missed here, feel free to leave it in the comments down below, and I'll try my best to answer any questions. So yeah, that pretty much goes over everything that I wanted to talk about here, and I'll see you guys here next time.